In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and God separated light from darkness.
The Aztecs were a civilization of Indian people in central Mexico with a rich mythology and cultural heritage. According to existing legends, the spiritual world of the Aztecs allowed them to communicate with the higher gods and receive revelations that were hidden from other mortals. The words of the Aztecs were heard before the event took place. In the world of men, their revelations became known as prophecies. One of the guides of Aztec communication with the ancient gods was one of the elements of nature, water. They believed in its essence beyond the control of time, which lurked in its various states. Liquid, gaseous, and crystalline. The Aztecs believed that water held many revelations from the beginning of the universe. This means that it is the oldest matter that has existed since the beginning of the universe, through which we can communicate with the creators of light. And darkness. In the 14th and 16th centuries, the Aztec civilization began to build conduit circuits for the liquid state of water in order to strengthen its connection with the gods. The water molecule is known to have genetic information that it can store and transmit. In 1950, an echo of a past Aztec water source was heard by a little girl. It happened on an island located in one of the canals dug by the Aztecs in Xochimilco, near the Mexican capital, Mexico City. In the early 1950s, the only inhabitant of the island was Julian Santana Barrero. He was forced to settle on the island after his expulsion from Barrio de la Asunción for preaching religious superstitions. On one summer night, Santa heard a cry like a child's voice of help. Shuddering with fear, he could not believe his hearing, for the island was uninhabited. He rushed outside at the call for help and rushed barefoot through the woods as if his mind had been taken over by someone and his physical body had become beyond his control. Near the canal, he saw the silhouette of a little girl. He could clearly see the silhouette of a girl who'd fallen and sunk into the canal. When Julian came close to the water, instead of the drowning girl, he saw a doll, which seemed for a moment to be resisting the current. The hermit assumed that the toy belonged to the girl who had drowned in the canal and hung it in a tree in memory of what he had seen and as a tribute to the deceased. He trusted what he had taken away, and the possible death of the girl depressed Santana. The next night, the hermit began to hear laughter and voices, someone's cries in the forest. Sometimes he heard the sound of footsteps not far from his hut. These phenomena became daily and began to intensify. After a while, he tried to unravel the mystery of what was happening and decided that the spirit of a dead girl was communicating with him, and the Aztec channel was a guide in their dialogue. Santana decided to appease the soul, who was his only company, and began to bring new dolls to the place of the drowned girl. The hermit was poor, so the dolls he found were often in terrible condition. They were thrown into the waters of the canals not underneath the island. Despite the condition of the toys, the ghost became peaceful and almost stopped bothering his neighbor from the world of the living. Looking at Santan's occupation, people themselves began to offer him toys in exchange for the vegetables with which he made his living. Thus came the island of cursed dolls, demanded by the drowned ghost of a girl. The hermit tried to alleviate the suffering of the spirit, but this required constantly bringing her new toys. For 50 years, the island was replenished with new dolls, until it began to count more than 1,000 toys. Contrary to this, the spirit became unsatisfied and began to demand new specimens with the hermit's insistent fear. And then Santana put a new meaning into his collection. He began to mutilate all the dolls in order to scare away the two girls, who began to cause him fear for his life. The hermit began tearing off their arms and legs and mutilating their heads to scare away the spirit of the drowned girl. In 2001, the island master was found dead near the canal. By the first doll he had hung over the sight of the drowning girl's silhouette he saw. The master's body was found by his nephew. When he first saw the breathless body, he heard strange voices and sounds coming from the canal waters. Somehow, the ghost decided to change one master for another, and Santana's plan to cleanse the island never succeeded. To this day, unexplainable facts happen to those who dare to visit the island of dead dolls, which are recorded by guides. For local guides, this place is under a strict ban. Only a few will be willing to be your guide with an agreed-upon time to arrive an exclusively verified hiking route. Photographer Cindy Vasco, who visited the island of dolls in 2015 in pursuit of good shots, notes that as soon as she sailed her boat to the island, all the birds were silent in an instant, and the resulting silence was so eerie. As if someone was watching her every move. A year earlier, the creators of the TV show Ghosts Adventure had spent the night on an island. Before going to bed, they extinguished their fire and made their way to their tents at a casual pace. In the blink of an eye, the extinguished fire erupted behind their backs. They froze in shock! The darkness erupted into heartbreaking cries of laughter, not at all like the children's cries Santana had heard. Historians familiar with the island's past say that during the Mexican Revolution in 1911, dead bodies were dumped into the canals. It is possible that Santana was not fully aware of the power of a guide in the form of a canal dug by the Aztecs. And it's not just the lonely spirit of a girl who wanders the island at night. The Earth is full of mysterious places that have a pretty spooky reputation. And no matter how much enterprising people try to make money from the flow of tourists who want to get through, it is worth thinking. Perhaps such places, which includes the island of dolls, have earned themselves a notoriety for a reason. Look sharp. Walk stealthily. If you hear a girl's voice,
Run!